Welcome to Auditory Hallucinations podcast. We're going to be talking this week about pyramids on a global scale and the implications of that. I'm Connor, and this is Nick and Brad.
Howdy.
They built the pyramids so they can communicate with the aliens.
I don't buy into that,
The
but
theory.
that is a theory, and it is one of the most popular theories. Unfortunately,
Well, yeah, because the History Channel figured out they can make a bunch of money off of selling T-shirts and fucking DVD and Blu-ray sets to people who sit there and binge watch Ancient Aliens all night.
that's true. I will say I have been binge watched Ancient Aliens many times.
Because
I don't.
it's a
It's
really good
a
it's a
show.
really good produced show. I mean, it just is.
It's a very well produced and it's very entertaining.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
believe in aliens from outer space, but it's still an entertaining show to watch. And there's
I
also
like
a lot
to
of
wa-
information in it, like about
I
like
like to watch the crazy haired dude like talk about the ancient astronaut theorists speculate that this circle in the dirt was a landing pad used by the Glockus when they landed in ancient Egypt in 3216 BC.
My
And it's just
question
like,
is,
where the fuck do you pull this out? What,
Yeah.
you just pulling this shit out of your ass?
how do they come up with the names of these things?
that does that is how it feels whenever they talk about that. And whenever they name alien race, I'm like, what are you naming them based off of?
Yeah, like
Typical
what?
naming is based off like a language of the people or like some like major site they have. But like, why are the draconians called the
Listen,
draconians?
bro. I get it. Like Egyptian
Dracos from
hieroglyphs
space.
and fucking like I don't know. I look at Hebrew sometimes, and that shit looks like space runes to me too. That shit looks
That's
crazy.
just so if a people are
It's
named
not.
after
It's
the
not an
language,
alien.
That sounds like a vaguely racist joke.
No,
Like,
it's
he knows
not.
space rune.
Because I don't know how to read Hebrew, so
I
I
mean,
look at it. It looks fucking crazy to me. Same with like
I mean,
Chinese or
French.
something.
French and Spanish look the same to me. They just like fucking squiggles. I mean, what do you want me to do?
He might be dyslexic.
You might be stupid.
Well,
Although I never did. I
Was-
never did take a. I never did take a language in high school because I got out of that shit because I was in tech. So I don't know any other
You
language
didn't take a
outside of
fucking
like.
foreign language, dude.
No, I didn't have to take a foreign language because
Dude,
I
they
was
like
like, dude,
forced
I'm
that
going.
on us in high school. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That
Typical
sucks for
stupid
you.
American who only knows one language despite living in a country that has one language and is the size of like Europe.
That's okay.
Imagine
I don't
that.
have to. Look, I mean, everywhere we live, everybody's fucking Germanic in some way, shape, or form. So I know a little bit of German. I know like Braten Wasser, which is bread and water in German. I mean, that's cool.
You can ask for bread and water if you're
Brat
ever
und
dying.
Wasser,
on
not
the-
Bratenwasser.
Well, I wasn't saying that as a complete sentence. I was saying those as two separate words.
Okay,
Well,
Fuck you.
no. But all right, so yeah, I mean, there's pyramids all over the world, allegedly, and literally, like they've been found all over the world, and there's
Oh,
also
yeah.
allegedly more pyramids than we know about across the world. Um, the big names, Chichen Itza in Mexico, the Great Pyramids of Egypt. There's pyramids in Asia. There's the Bass Pro Shops in, I believe, Tennessee.
I like that those count because they do. They are
The
pyramids.
Bass Pro
I
Shops is one of
can't.
the largest pyramids on Earth.
Yeah.
I can't wait
Um,
for society to fall apart and our future like inhabitants of this world come across the fucking Bass Pro Shops pyramid.
Well,
And they're
that
like,
shit,
this
man.
is what they used to use to pray to their gods.
yeah, like it was
It's
a
a
great
giant
religious
fish.
building. It was a religious building. It was a building used. They're looking like, oh, there was Tesla energy that ran through this, powering their society. No, it's just a big retail store. You buy
Yeah,
fishing
they-
rods, camo clothes.
They'll
use-
find all the fucking taxidermied and plastic animals in there. They'll be like, oh my god, they
right.
worship nature.
Yeah,
They were a race. They were a people of Druidic form.
yeah, they were druidic peoples. They believed in a shamanistic religion where they had all these weird animals and tanks of fish, and it's like,
And-
yeah, we don't know what all these things with like numbers on them were, but we're sure these numbers had sacred significance to them.
They had
It's
hats
just-
with
it's-
fish
it's
on
just
them.
price tags.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if like the government used that giant ass pyramid as like a bomb shelter or something. If like there was some kind of localized emergency, they would just move all of the local government into the Bass Pro Shops pyramid because it's a
Bro,
defensible position.
nah, you're wrong. They got lasers that come out the side and shoot the missiles before they even reach the fucking country, man.
We should go to the Bass Pro Shops pyramid.
Honestly, I'm down.
I do want to see it. It does sound interesting.
It sounds
I worked
dope.
I worked at Cabela's before it became Bass Pro, and everybody made the big joke. Oh, we're gonna go down to pray to Mr. Bass Pro down in Tennessee to his big ass pyramid.
Bro.
I do always love. This is a complete tangent. We're talking about parents, but the Bass Pro Shops pyramid. I always love the like old like drawings of like Egypt in its prime with all the pyramids like gleaming white.
Yeah.
And then like instead of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Bass Pro Shops pyramid is photoshopped into it. It just says Bass Pro Shops
As
on
it
like, the
should
front.
be, honestly.
Like yes, the ancient Egyptians and their Bass Pro Shops.
This is I'm looking at a hidden pyramid that is believed to be in China. This
Yeah.
one is actually probably one of the more apparent ones. Or
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I mean, there was a big
they have pyramids in China too. Like it's not
yeah,
like
they do.
Yeah.
China's fascinating too, is to how closed off it is, like governmentally.
yeah.
That like we really don't know fully to the extent to what archaeological sites are like actually in
I mean,
China.
they could destroy some of them for all. Like,
I
Somebody
doubt they
did.
do
Did you
that,
see
but
the
they
article?
probably don't.
Did you
What?
see the Did you see the article where that road crew used an excavator and put a hole through the Great Wall of China to extend a road?
No, I did not see that. That's actually sounds vaguely criminal.
Well, it's extremely criminal. I'm pretty sure they're going to shoot him for it because it's China.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually know someone who's worked on archaeological digs in China. They are very interesting, apparently. But Nick knows the guy as well, vaguely. But
yeah.
I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want the Chinese government to go kill him or something.
He's been
telling me
talking to
for,
the Westerners.
Yeah, for like telling me too much. But I mean, they'll have to fly here to do it. But
Honestly, the fact that you mentioned them, they probably already know. So
yeah, they probably do.
Well, if you're using
farewell,
an
friend.
Android,
Farewell.
if you're using an Android phone, they'll probably just set off the self-destruct chip inside the phone and blow it up.
dude, that's
Yeah,
dope.
I am. I hope it blows up on my desk right now.
Dude, now I'm
What do you
glad that
call
I
it?
have an iPhone.
No, I mean, like
Well,
I'll just try and
big,
mind control me instead.
the big the tomb of I believe Kublai, maybe. I could be
Chupacabra.
completely Chupacabra. No, I could be completely wrong about this, but the big tomb of Kublai they had like there was like a river of
Kublai
Mercury
Khan.
in it and stuff like that, and it could be some other like Chinese emperor, not like a Mongol emperor, but that was like that's a big hill that's vaguely pyramid shaped.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because
so-
I think if you look up like the actual pyramids that they do have there, you go find a picture of them. It's oddly similar in shape.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Is like there's a question of like obviously like a pyramid is a geometrical structure, right?
Yeah.
And like can only things that are that like structure can be classified as pyramids. But there are also lots of mounds that were built around the world that are vaguely pyramid shaped, but do not like they don't have strictly have like four sides. And why do you see that picture? That's interesting.
Yeah, that's the tomb of. Here, I'll copy and paste this.
Yeah, they don't strictly have like four sides and stuff like that. They're just vaguely pyramid shaped.
Right.
And I think we should like. I think we can put those into this discussion as like not as pyramids, obviously, but in the same realm, maybe like the prototype pyramids.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
like, there's such odd shapes to be made like naturally. Some of them, so especially the ones in Bosnia, right? So
We're gonna get to that. That'll be a long bit of this, a long segment on the Bosnian ones.
yeah.
But so what do you call it? We should probably start where not where it all began, but you know where everyone else knows Egypt. You know, there's
Yeah.
everyone knows of the three Great Pyramids at Giza. You know, they're big, they're great, they're pyramids.
I was gonna say if you they're big, they're great, they're pyramids. Ah, shit, I don't know.
They're big.
Yeah.
They're great. The pyramids.
I know you guys are. I was gonna say you guys are from fucking Jersey. You can do the accent better than I can.
Yeah,
Look at those fucking things, man. The
They're
big
great.
fuck off pyramids.
Fucking pyramid. Who the fuck built that?
Who the
shit,
fuck? What
man,
the
man?
fuck is that shit, man?
Fuck, am I paying my taxes going to that shit? God
Are you
damn.
fucking kidding me? You get the fuck out of here.
Gobbity goo.
I think we dropped enough F bombs to get this age restricted now.
I don't care.
Most certainly.
We did our
They're
job.
probably all age restricted.
I don't care.
But what do you call it? No, like there's also a variety of other pyramids in Egypt, and I believe what is now Sudan, which parts of northern. It is Sudan, right? Northern Sudan, or
Let's look it
um,
up.
parts of the ancient kingdom of Egypt. And to me, like we're like I know like a lot of people get dive deep on like the
Yeah,
aliens and
Sudan.
stuff for the pyramids and like Tesla energy. I didn't do much research on that. Obviously, I know the alien stuff because I watched it on the History Channel when I was younger. But
One of the really like stupid things with the ancient pyramids that everybody's like, dude, there's no way we could have ever built those things by ourselves. You had to have help. It's like nobody seems to grasp the fact that it took fucking hundreds, if not thousands, of years to build those fucking
Yeah.
things. Like nobody ever takes time into consideration when it comes
People
to
also
shit
think
happening.
they also think they're very recent, which is like just not true.
It's 3,000 years ago at the
Yeah,
earliest.
yeah,
like
well, so that's where it goes to me is the recent thing. I go to the idea of ancient civilizations, more ancient than I think the pyramids are probably older than. I think lots of them are probably older. I think they come from a civilization that's more advanced than we probably know, had a higher level of social organization than we would assume for being as old as they are.
yeah, because the pyramids were built. I mean, it's this weird like thing that a lot of people point out is that like I think Cleopatra was born closer to the first iPhone being made than the pyramids being built. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
she was born closer to today than
Yeah.
the pyramids being built. Yeah,
So and if you look at some of these other things, and it would go back further, and it's not out of the question that like a lost civilization would have built them and they would have been buried over because that's kind of how a lot of things are, right? You have to
yeah.
dig up a lot of shit from old civilizations to figure out what the fuck happened. You
And
know?
keep in mind, like they're still finding stuff in the
Yeah.
deserts of Egypt. Like they're still finding things,
I,
pretty like all the time.
if I'm honest, I wouldn't be surprised if like there's like more pyramids buried even further under the sand and stuff, especially in the desert of all
Yeah,
places.
I mean, like
The only thing with that is you have to remember plate tectonics is a thing. So if there's
This is
shit
true,
far
yeah.
enough to, if there's shit too far underground, it's had time to get crushed by earthquakes and seismic
Yeah,
adjustments. So a lot of people are like, "Yeah, we're gonna. If you dig down far enough, you're gonna find the hangars that the ancient Egyptians used to fight the fucking space lizard." It's just like no, because there's been enough earthquakes, all that shit's been destroyed. We're only gonna
yeah.
find remnants of it.
yeah. Now, I mean, like we haven't even gone into the like this is on like the border of the Sahara. We haven't even gone into like deep into the Sahara, like in like where like Atlantis was based out of. See like
Right.
what's out there.
Well, like if you
But
look at deserts
And
here in the U.S., or some of them were like dried up lake beds and stuff. Some of them were like covered in water before. So, like things shift, things move, like and stuff like dries up and fills up with water. You never know.
And that's not to say that there hasn't been like asteroid impacts in the last 10,000 years that blew shit up too.
Yeah,
yep. So like the Great Pyramid of Giza, they say was constructed 2570 BC ish in Old Kingdom Egypt, which would be 4500 4600 years ago. Um, I believe it is 7,000 years old minimum, personally.
I can see that. I mean, we don't
There
know that
are
for sure, do we? We just know. Do we know that off of like
You
carbon
can
dating it?
carbon date the you can carbon date the granite
you
boulders and shit that's
cannot
there.
carbon date rock. You can only carbon date organic material.
We
Oh,
have
that's right.
organic.
I was thinking of something else.
Yeah,
We have
that but
organic material from
that's
Giza.
one of the things. Well, so yeah, I mean, there's organic material found in the pyramids that dates to at least 500 years older than the date of construction,
Right.
which could have been placed in there after construction. But as like a part of like a shoring up process because it's wood. And but there is a ostrich egg that was found that is dated to 7,000 years old, and that
Wow.
ostrich egg shows it showed at the top of the ostrich egg, which is very interesting, where the hole was drilled to like get the like contents of the egg out and wash it out. There are like there's rings around it, rings that would mirror like the described rings of Atlantis.
Hmm.
And I believe it's 2 rings of land, 3 rings of water. So there's 2 rings of land, and then essentially 3 of water. And then below that, coming from like the Atlantis area, there is a large like line that people assume is um a body of water. It's probably the Nile, and it seems to roughly follow the track of like the Nile. And next to the Nile, if that's what it is, are 3 triangles. And people are
Oh,
like, oh, those. Some people say like, oh, those are mountains. And there's not really any mountains that would, you know, look like triangles along the Nile. Like
no.
there's no like alpine style mountains that look like triangles and stuff like that. And it's interesting that the triangles have horizontal lines across them, which would seem to indicate like steps, similar to how like a pyramid.
Right.
Like you see the Great Pyramid of Giza from far away, and like I thought this when I was younger. I was like, oh, it's got like flat sides, but no, it is a step pyramid.
Yeah, it is.
All pyramids are step pyramids. It's
It,
just so many
well,
large steps that from a
except for the
distance,
Bass Pro Shop.
except for the Bass Pro Shops, that is not a step pyramid. My
Yeah.
bad. But from a long enough distance, it looks flat.
Yeah.
But it is an 8-sided step pyramid.
Interesting. I mean, yeah,
That's
you
a fun
got
fact. Many people don't know the pyramids have 8 sides.
what is it? Chichen Itza or whatever.
Yeah, that's a very clear step pyramid.
Yeah, those have literal steps on them.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's funny because we know what those were used for a lot of the time.
Yeah, human sacrifice.
um, no.
Yeah.
The pyramids themselves are like more like tombs, aren't they? Like, or do they have
Well,
tombs?
so here's the thing. We say that they were tombs and that they must be tombs. To my knowledge, I don't know if there's ever been bodies found in most of them. I don't believe there's bodies found in them.
Because there's like
Pyramids.
tombs all over the place there, but they're not. Some of them aren't. Most of them aren't connected to the pyramids. There you go.
Yep.
No, a lot of people. It's like a modern. It's like the ancient way of. It's like getting a fucking like highway named after yourself, like a
Yeah.
memorial highway or something. They would just build these giant pyramids. You're like, yes, I was a ruler, and now I'm stepping my way into the heavens to sit amongst the gods. And then it's just like the next guy would build one like 6 feet taller, and then they would just keep going up and up and up. And
Yeah.
then Napoleon comes through and blows up the pyramid and the Sphinx with fucking cannons and some shit.
Well, that never happened, but
Oh. Yeah.
Didn't he shoot a cannonball into the side of one of the pyramids? Isn't that why it's
Allegedly,
fucked up?
allegedly Napoleon shot the Sphinx's nose off, didn't that? But I don't think that's like
that's
fake.
folklore, though. I
Yeah.
think that's just like a legend.
I swear, because I saw it in. Now this is a movie that's coming out. I saw it in the trailer from the Napoleon movie. He shoots the fucking one of the Great Pyramids with
Oh,
a
well,
cannon.
I'm sure that they like.
You know what's funny?
It,
I actually went out
one of the
to Barnes.
cannonballs fucking hit the pyramid.
I went out to
somewhere.
Barnes and Noble yesterday, and I was looking at books, and I got a book on Napoleon.
Oh hell yeah!
Interesting. You're becoming that archetype of man.
He's just like him
The
for
man who
real.
gets really into Republic. He's just like me for real.
He's just like me. He's short.
What?
He's got anger problems. He can't reach the top of the shelf of the supermarket.
Why do you think my fucking profile picture is Ryan Gosling? I'm him.
Yeah, I wondered why your profile picture was Ryan Gosling.
I'm
but-
him, dude.
And I'm the bronze
You
bar.
sit in a
literal
room and
bars of
scream
bronze.
at yourself because society is falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you call it? It's not a pyramid, but I think the Sphinx ties in pretty heavily to the pyramids. Clearly,
Yeah. I mean, like,
very fascinating thing with the Sphinx which I think also indicates that the pyramid's much older than we believe, is if you look in like the dugout that the Sphinx is in, because the Sphinx is cut out of like a rock wall.
Yeah.
It's not like blocks that have been moved there. It is just carved out of, I believe, a granite, not granite, a limestone like cliff face essentially. And it was buried under the sand for thousands of years. But it's modern day. It's of course it's dug out and blown out, so you can like walk around it and like people can get up close to it. But the area it's cut out of shows significant signs of water erosion.
Hmm.
So like water pouring down over hundreds, if not thousands of years, eroded those cliffs that it's cut out of.
So
And Egypt has not been a place that got heavy rains for a very, very long time.
is it say was Egypt ever more green then?
Oh yeah, I think like 10,000 years ago or so.
That's that would also like wouldn't it wouldn't be in the same place as well, like entirely. It would have been shifted
What
a
do you
little
mean?
bit from plate tectonics.
Well, but like the whole plate shifts in plate tectonics.
Yeah.
Not over,
it's
probably
not like
not over 10.
your house and my house would still be like in the same relative place to each other.
Right.
The plate itself would shift.
In 10,000 years is not probably long enough for any major changes to happen unless there was some kind of catastrophic earthquake that fucks something up.
Okay.
No, now cataclysm does come into this, but
Well, that's what I was leaning into, but who
yeah,
knows?
The
um,
plagues. The
like
plagues!
I would say if you go
obviously,
for
like,
even further back, then that would like it would have been in a different spot.
Well, the Nile floods. That's one of the reasons why the Egyptian society was allowed to exist is because the Nile floods.
yeah,
I'm
the
sure there's
Nile.
been I'm sure there's been catastrophic floods that have destroyed everything, and then there's been catastrophic droughts that have destroyed everything.
Well, yes, but like part of the reason the Egyptian civilization is so successful where it is because the Nile floods predictably. The
Hmm.
Nile is not a river that just has random catastrophic floods frequently. It
Right.
floods the same pretty much every year, which allows them to irrigate well. But like obviously, like a flood could be a flood could be a catastrophic event that could wipe out the pyramid
Well,
builders, but
epic
probably
epic
not wipe out the
Noah's
pyramids
Ark moment.
themselves. A big Noah's Ark moment over here. No, but I mean, Egypt is obviously kind of where you have to start when discussing pyramids. Egypt, you have to start in either Egypt or Mexico, probably.
Yeah.
And really Egypt or South America, because all of South America is also dotted with pyramids, many of which likely are not known because they're deep in the jungle and
I
we haven't gone deep in.
I was gonna
Find
say, like, oh, it's like one extreme to the other, right? Because like these pyramids are like in a much like they're in more arid places in fucking like Sudan and in Egypt and stuff, right? But all of a sudden
yeah,
you go down to South America, they're building them in the middle of the jungle. You have to wonder how that's even fucking possible in some of those places because the jungle is so thick. They'd have to send so many people to fucking deforest so much shit.
well, you don't have to send a lot of people. All you have to do is set a sufficiently large fire, and it does on
Oh,
its
true.
own.
Yeah, didn't even think about
Yeah, the
that.
forest
You do is
jungle
burn a forest down.
jungles burn actually really, really well
Yeah,
because of all the dense
evidently
vegetation in there.
the
Yeah,
the rainforest just fucking cooking away every once in a while.
watch them cook, but watch them cook. But I mean, like it's not only the pyramids aren't only found in like extreme like zones like that. China is a more temperate
Yeah,
climate. I believe the pyramids are in like central and northern China. That's a much more temperate climate than Egypt or the
their
Amazon.
their location comes into play in this, though, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Don't they? Isn't that like a whole thing?
some people believe yes that's a thing. Greece is a more temperate area. There is a pyramid in Greece. It's not like that, and that's like not a debated thing. That's something that like archaeologists recognize. Yes, there's a small pyramid in Greece.
Yeah.
Bosnia obviously debated, but yeah, that's also a more temperate climate. Not a very temperamental people, but a very temperate climate.
The the ones in the one in Bosnia. feel like I've seen. Have they actually started digging around that to see if there's actually a pyramid underneath it, or?
Oh yeah, there's been plenty of digs.
Hmm.
We can. I would say we should shelf Bosnia for a little. Bosnia is going to be like a long discussion.
Well, all
We
right.
should probably touch on like America first.
Yeah, we could touch on it.
Yeah,
I mean, what is there to say? You know, other than there's definitely one at the bottom of that lake in Wisconsin.
it's not definite, but yeah, there's potential. Rock Lake, Wisconsin. It is believed that there may be a pyramid at the bottom of the lake. There are definitely pyramidal piles of stones that many people
Pyramidal.
claim are pyramids. Um, some believe that it's an Aztec homeland. It was up north. The Aztecs came from up
Yeah,
north,
I mean, it
which
could be.
linguistically, the language family endemic to like southern Canada and like Wisconsin area is the same language family as that the Aztec language was a part of.
Well, you got
So
natives that have like allegedly like there's no like actual documented proof of this that have moved from like Midwest up to Canada and like back and forth and stuff because of like warring tribes
yeah,
and
the
stuff.
war
So
and change and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, tribal societies move. People move. Their migration is a very like mass migration is a very consistent thing throughout history.
right.
Europe was built by wave after wave of Germanic migration, stemming, over 1,000 years.
Oh,
So
the question. I find it. What I find interesting is like how common pyramids as a structure are all over the fucking place. Like just like the like actual legitimate ones that people recognize as pyramids, like structures. They just keep like in history, like it's just kind of the thing to build.
yeah, I mean they keep popping up all over the world as the thing to build, and they're all built like obviously like some people would say like a pyramid is a very what do you call it? What is the word for something that is like easy to know?
Oh, I don't know. You just call it simple.
Well, it's as simple and it's like it's a very straightforward shape and one that you would just kind of figure out on your own. People would say,
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't like obviously like it is like even children as block like playing with blocks create pyramid shapes.
yeah,
Just make with the blocks because naturally it is you do just realize that oh if I stack this layer and then I stack a smaller layer on top and keep doing that it will look like
great.
a pyramid.
Well, with the ones
But
in South America though, those are much more, you know, like they're not that simple. Like
well no I mean and they all have regional variations to some extent. They all look very similar, but that I mean that is the basic shape of a pyramid.
it is.
They're all like obviously like the ones in South America they have stairs and stuff like that on them. They have like, interior rooms perhaps.
Yeah,
But in a different way than like the Egyptian pyramids have interior rooms because those do as well. But
yeah. The fact that they're
um,
even structurally sound sometimes surprises me. Rooms in them, that's kind of nuts.
well, I mean, with that many blocks, you can make passages. But I don't think it is necessarily God, what is that word? I don't think it's necessarily self evident that um different cultures would just figure out how to make pyramids and just decide to make pyramids
Well,
for
yeah,
no
that's my
reason.
thing, right?
The question is like why? Like what is the function of a pyramid? Like why do you all choose to make pyramids over any other shape? Especially when you're an agricultural society, that that means you have to devote resources and time that could be used for farming or things
well,
like that to building a pyramid.
let's look at why they built them in South America is potentially because they could get closer to their gods and sacrifice people,
Yeah,
um,
well, and
or
when
whatever
you
they rituals and stuff that they would do on them.
when you embrace psychedelics as a society, it turns out sometimes the gods want blood,
Yeah,
and sometimes they want you to build a pyramid to give them that blood on.
That way you
uh,
can throw babies into a pit.
I mean, like the idea of getting close to your God with like a structure that reaches into the heavens like that. It's not like it's a very old story. Like obviously, that's the story of the Tower of Babel
Yeah.
in the Bible as well. As he building a
Apparently,
not a pyramid
Our
but a
bubble.
tower, which sounds like a ziggurat. Is like the Tower of Babel was, and it's a pyramid-ish like structure.
I
It's
bet
not
it
a
wasn't
pyramid. It
even
is a
that
big
tall.
four-walled structure.
How much
The
you want to bet?
ziggurats are pretty freaking big.
How much you want to bet that the thing wasn't even that tall? I bet I could build a bigger tower.
Let's, you know what?
The first IRL video is us building a giant
There's gonna
fucking
be like a
ziggurat in New
Mr.
Jersey.
Beast fucking video where it's just like, we built the Tower of Babel in New Jersey.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna
And now
send
we
this
can't
to
understand each other.
we can barely understand each other as is.
Yeah.
I can.
This
I
is a
mean, you see,
ziggurat for
you're the one that says water wrong.
water. I say it both ways though. I said water earlier, because sometimes it makes me not stutter, but it's much easier just to say
But,
water. But that's a ziggurat. So that obviously
yeah.
that is that is a pyramid-like design where there is that base and smaller and smaller and smaller, but it doesn't. It's not in the same proportions to
Yeah,
pyramid.
it's a little bit more complicated as well because it
Yeah.
has more
Yeah. What I don't get is
going
like
on.
why pyramid?
Like,
Why
that's what I
always
want to
pyramid?
know.
Now I do think I do understand this. I can understand this. I can understand one culture deciding deciding they like pyramids for whatever reason. I don't doesn't really matter. Like maybe it's just
Yeah,
a religious thing. You like pyramids. And then spreading it worldwide.
I think honestly, it's just everybody. The the classic Ancient Aliens argument of, well, how the hell did everybody come up with the same idea? It's like, well, like I said, you give somebody enough time, and everybody is relatively at the same technological level, they'll fucking eventually come up with the same thing. It's not like when we invented the wheel, it was in one specific location. There's evidence of the Chinese and the Indians and everybody from anywhere has come up with some kind of variation on the wheel. It's just time.
that's true.
Time is the greatest factor that
Well,
nobody ever talks about. You just have to give shit enough time, and it likely will just happen.
Well,
I actually think the wheel's a bad example.
how come there are such isolated tribes out there currently that they haven't made any like advancement, and they've been around just about as long as us, right?
Because those
Yeah.
isolated tribes are an extreme example because they're usually in like island locations and other locations that us modern humans haven't exploited yet, so they don't have access to the same resources.
Yeah, I mean that's a tricky question because a lot of it does do like resource scarcity in some of those places.
That's fair, yeah.
But I was gonna say because I don't want to just say like, oh, I don't want to just leave it at I think the wheel's a bad example and that seems like very petty, but because I think you can make a pretty I think there's an argument to be made that Indo-Europeans invented the wheel and then spread it across the steppe, and that's how China, India, and Europe all kind of got the wheel. And then obviously from like the Levant region, Indo-Europeans in the Levant region, Hittites spreading it down into Africa and especially into Egypt and northern Africa.
Yeah, I just pulled something on my ass. I didn't know if that
Yeah.
was actually
Yeah,
going to play or not.
yeah, but that is. But I mean, even that like, you pull it out because that seems like such like a no-brainer. Like, oh, everyone would invent a wheel given enough time, but clearly one group invented a wheel and then other groups saw it and like, oh, that's a good idea to adopt.
Right.
Now the question is, why do you adopt a parent? Like nothing seems inherently useful about a parent.
Yeah, like
But
what do you get out of it other than like worship or
yeah, other than it's like a religious center,
like
or like
monument?
obviously a ruler could say it and say, "Oh, this really shows my power off
Yeah.
that I have a pyramid."
I mean, look no further than France, and you'll see that like building giant phallic fucking objects that are made out of metal is we still do that. Like that's just something that we like to do. As I don't know why.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it pyramid phallic, but
Hell, yeah, you'd have some bad
I
luck
don't
if
know.
if your dick looked
You
like
don't know.
that.
Maybe 6,000 years ago there was a giant dildo-shaped
I mean, who knows?
object on top of the
But
pyramids.
well, so in Egypt, I think there's, God, what is there is like a spire or something that's like a monument, right?
They're called obelisks.
Obelisk. Yeah.
We have one here. It's called the Washington Monument.
Listen, dog. I'm working on like half capacity in my brain. All right, like I'm kind of tired today. but yeah, like you got obelisks like all over the place. We build shit for no reason, like the fucking uh, like like the well, we didn't build it, but you got like things like the Statue of Liberty. Like if think about like years later when our society collapses, people are gonna look at that shit and be like, wow, this lady must have been really important if they can't make out any of the engravings or anything on it, right?
Or after it turns completely, after it rusts away.
Yeah, and it's like,
Does copper rust or what? It's made of
It,
bronze or copper?
well, the statue wasn't green, that's for sure. It
No, it was not.
oxidates.
think,
No, it does oxidate. I don't know if it rusts
uh,
though.
it
This is
probably will.
beyond.
Some,
This is beyond the point. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah,
it's near
yeah.
salt water. It'll erode. It's fine.
I think the benefit that we have is we have electronic records and actual bookkeeping. So
we do,
I'm
yeah.
sure I'm sure some of that's gonna survive. Where like ancient people would be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna chisel shit into the side of a mountain," and then the mountain,
Yeah,
is still there but erodes away.
there are efforts to make sure that we leave our lasting mark like here
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a country, but it's just interesting that we build statues like that, we build stuff like that, and we keep doing that, right?
Well,
Like,
monumental building is just like I would argue it's just kind of a part of human nature.
yeah, well,
It's just monumental building
mean,
just to showcase your ability and stuff to other humans.
why
But
else would we make a fucking Bass Pro Shop and a pyramid just because we can? So like,
well, some might argue that's part of an Illuminati ritual, but we don't need to go there.
okay, well, I mean,
The only person that would argue that is you. Shut
let's
the
I'm
fuck
actually
up.
not. I'm actually
let's
not going to argue that. That
let's
was a joke. I don't know if that's a theory. But it probably is.
let's remove
So
that kind of stuff from the equation and just assume that like stuff like that's not the reason people are building pyramids. Um, like they straight up made a Bass Pro Shop just because they could in a pyramid, right? Or
yeah,
like
it's great
Shanghai
marketing for it.
Tower, like just because we can, we're gonna build like this big fuck off fucking building, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, and people still make like pilgrimages to those buildings. Like
Yeah,
we discussed making a pilgrimage to the Bass Pro Shops
yeah.
earlier.
Or
Like
like the Empire State Building is a great example, stuff like that, or the World Trade Center, um,
the World Trade Center.
like the big one that they built after the other two
Oh,
got knocked down.
the Freedom Tower. Yeah,
Yeah,
Freedom Tower. I've been there. Interesting place. But you would have thought there'd be a mall where the World Trade Center was.
I think there might have
There's
been like
there is. There's a luxury mall.
yeah.
It feels vaguely disrespectful, but
Well, I mean, it's there. Like
it's there.
it's I'm not. It's not. There's no like.
Building 7's and freaking Louis what Vuitton now. I said that really badly. Oh, but what do you call it? Yeah, once again, though, I mean, we have to bring it back to the fact that we cannot go a single episode without bringing 11 into the picture here.
It's
It comes up every single
yeah.
episode.
It's funny.
None of this is planned. It just comes
I
up.
I didn't even like. It wasn't even a joke. Like that was just a legitimate example.
It just comes up.
Because the World Trade Center was like that. Those were buildings that a lot of people went to.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
business and like just to see them because they're pretty impressively tall buildings. So
Yeah. But I think ultimately, I think we should like pyramids in America, pyramids in Egypt, pyramids in China, pyramids. It's clear that one of two things happens. People either all just for whatever reason are drawn to pyramids and have the idea to build pyramids, or there is a meta civilization that spread pyramids across the globe, and which would require a seafaring civilization.
I mean, I could believe the Atlanteans did that kind of shit where all the coastal region shit, especially here in the States and South America,
Mhm.
are descendants of Atlantis, and we just picked up their shit, and then like, oh, we're gonna build pyramids like we did in the Atlantic.
right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't think that's. I mean, I'm not going to say that's. I was going to say I don't think that's incredibly unreasonable, but I don't think it is. But I think the majority of people would think that it's
Well,
insane.
a majority of people think that Atlantis is just
It's
not.
fake.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
like
not
a
even a
legend.
concept, right? But
I personally believe Atlantis existed.
I think that's the thing with these kinds of topics is you have to remove that preconceived notion of that's impossible, right? Because otherwise it's no fun to talk about, you
Yeah,
know.
and I mean that kind of brings us to like there's one more big pyramid we got to talk about, which is the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, pyramid of the moon, pyramid of the dragon, and pyramid of love.
Yeah.
Um,
Pyramid of
which
the who
could
gives a
be
fuck?
one of two things. Could be a pyramid, could be a Bosnian nationalist thing to draw tourism to Bosnia and give it an ancient history to tie the country together, stop war. But I am under the impression, personally, and am thoroughly convinced that there are in fact pyramids in Bosnia.
Well, there's I
Um,
don't know. They're very sheer cliffs, right? Like that are very pyramid like. It's very odd.
well, I think what's something that's interesting is I believe the pyramid the Great Pyramid of Giza is 0 degrees 2 minutes off north. The supposed mountain that it looks like a pyramid, the Bosnian pyramid of the sun,
Yeah.
is 0 degrees 0 minutes 12 seconds off north. So it is if it is a pyramid, not only is it the largest pyramid on Earth, it is also the most accurate pyramid on Earth.
Right.
And it very clearly looks like a pyramid.
I mean, yeah,
Keep in
just looking
mind,
at that picture.
excavated. I don't know why. Our geologists say, "Oh, it looks like it's made of blocks because they are, in fact, because it's just a natural formation that happens to look like hand hewn blocks that have been worn down." And I
Yeah.
know that parts look like they're paved with pavers, but those are natural too. And I know that there are, and it is confirmed there are excavated tunnels underneath of the town
Well, yeah, there's like
that seem to lead to the
pictures
pyramid.
of it.
And yeah,
Like
and that there's things in the tunnels, there's rocks that are
clear as
carved
day.
in the tunnels and have symbols carved into them, but that's natural as well.
Yeah. And the way that
We
they're laid
shouldn't
Yeah,
out,
question that.
where they're like in a perfect fucking triangle like that, like
Yeah,
that's
we shouldn't.
natural too.
Let's not question it. I think you're right. I think we've come to they're natural hills that just happen to look like
Yeah.
pyramids, and that erosion has just turned them into pyramid shaped. Basically just
Yep.
step pyramids made of blocks, and that
Look at that.
yeah,
That's completely natural.
there was a big flow of water underneath of the town at one point that carved out tunnels that happen to have rocks in them carved with like patterns and stuff and symbols, and those symbols are all naturally carved.
hmm
There's definitely no humans that did this.
maybe it
But
wasn't human. Intelligent life doesn't necessarily mean to be human.
I would agree intelligent life doesn't necessarily have to be human, but I don't think any non-humans are building.
Humanoid.
Maybe
They
giants,
gotta
I don't
have
know.
opposable thumbs.
Ostensibly, yeah. I mean,
Unless you're using,
I
unless
thoroughly
you're
re-
telekinetically throwing shit up there.
I thoroughly reject that aliens built the pyramids or any structures on Earth.
Well, you
I'm
don't believe in aliens to start with, so
Yes,
that's
I
just
thoroughly reject aliens.
that.
Aliens are just
I
demons.
mean, there's no like actually clear evidence that they would have had anything to do with this. And if
No.
they were gonna use them for something, you would think that they'd be using them right now.
What there is clear evidence of is pyramids, ostensibly built by humans. Especially considering we have records of pyramids that are clearly built by humans.
Yeah.
I believe there's a guy that's building pyramids today in like Slovenia or something like
What a Chad,
that. He's building pyramids.
bro,
I think he
bro.
thinks that they have some like energetic healing properties, and he's building like a pyramid complex.
That's why the
Like
Shungite
a
pyramid
small one,
exists.
obviously, but like not
Imagine going to
massive
like,
pyramids. But
imagine going to like some kind of equipment rental location and being like, "Oh yeah, what are you renting out this excavator for? I'm building a pyramid in my backyard."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for what? I'm gonna start sacrificing goats.
Go off,
it'd
bro.
be
Honestly,
I think the cops would get called. Yeah, but
Nah,
like if you look at if you just look up Bosnian pyramid of the sun, what will come up on Google is a bunch of articles saying that it's a hoax and there is no Bosnian pyramid of the sun,
I mean,
alongside of a bunch of pictures that are very clearly a picture of a pyramid.
you just
But
gotta look at it and be like, okay, like sure, that could be natural, but there's not a lot of mountains that look like that are.
no, actually, I don't believe there's a. I believe there are 7 in Bosnia. And I believe the guy that discovered them they're probably all pyramids.
Yeah.
You know, it's very tough to see a mountain forming to look like a pyramid, and not just like I can see like, oh, maybe there's a mountain that looks like a pyramid, but then you would think when you dig into that mountain, you wouldn't find things that look like blocks and like paving stones and stuff.
Right. And even
You
if it's
wouldn't
not
think you would
like,
find, and might add uniform blocks,
yeah,
blocks that are spaced out the same,
like
are very similarly
like
sized.
brickwork almost.
Yeah, it's like clearly placed blocks
There's
with like clay cushioning between them.
right, but and you would think that the way that because the way that mountains form, right? Like you look at places like the Grand Canyon, right? Like that
Yeah.
formed all like naturally and stuff. It did not form like perfect shapes the way that like this was formed, right? Like rock formations don't come out like that 3 times in a row, or like
4 times
four,
in a row
but
in the
yeah,
same valley. And then, yeah, that just doesn't. It's not. It's just not feasible that this would exist. Like once again, if you dug into it and said like, yeah, it's just dirt and like loose rock, like it's just compacted earth. It looks like that. I would say, okay, that's interesting. It's a
that's
weird shaped mountain. But it's not. It's once you pull off the dirt, you find steps. You find a step pyramid underneath, essentially.
like, and
Um,
I hope
and then
that
the
people
tunnels and stuff.
actually dig and actually find stuff like to prove it without a doubt, because that would be really
Well,
fucking cool.
people I think people have, in my opinion, like they have,
Yeah,
in my opinion, without a doubt, proven it.
that people need a
But
lot more evidence, I guess. You know?
the problem is, I think it would disrupt the mainstream like view of history so
Yeah,
much. It would
it's
disrupt it like the largest pyramid being in the Balkans and being so accurate, just in the middle of Bosnia. Like that sounds insane because there's other than the Romans, there's no major civilization that ever like existed in that
well,
area other than the Romans and like Alexander's civilization. And there's no records of either of them building this. And if the Romans built it, we would know the Romans built a pyramid.
and
If
that would
Alexander built it, we would probably know that they built a pyramid.
yeah,
One of his biographers would probably have recorded him building a pyramid bigger than the Pyramid of Giza.
and that would offer up a very large missing portion of history that like the historical community doesn't want to fucking admit that they.
It would, considering there's no records of it being built, it would probably have to push the historical timeline back
Yeah,
further than people are comfortable pushing it back. Um, so people, just bury their head in the sand and say, well, there cannot be a pyramid, and that is one of the main arguments to there not being a pyramid. To it not being a pyramid is just, oh well, it can't be a pyramid because there's no pyramids in Bosnia.
like
That is one of the key arguments is that there are no pyramids in Bosnia
why can't there be?
so it can't be a pyramid. A great question because
Like
people don't
what?
believe that the
Why
Atlanteans had a
not?
worldwide pyramid network. So
It's the only like look, man. The only time I've seen stonework like that is like on a path that someone built, right?
oh
So
yeah, no, it's insane. Yeah, if you look at the stonework is very clearly man-made stonework.
yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen another like natural area that has stonework like that. Other than I will say, there's a coast in Ireland that looks very man-made. It's very
I mean
funny.
that could have been as well. To be fair,
Lore is that the giants made it, but
well,
giants could have made the pyramids too. How do you lift those blocks? Giants might be able to lift them.
science, man.
It would take 500 people to lift one of those blocks,
Listen,
and I
man.
don't think 500 people fit around the blocks. So,
Goliaths.
yep, big giants built the pyramids. Those are also the giant. The pyramid builders. What they don't tell you is because we did find lots of giant skeletons in America, is you're really finding the skeletons of the pyramid architects in mounds,
Yeah,
pyramid builders.
could be.
So yeah, it's it. The Atlanteans were a race of giants with red hair.
I bet they had
With
small
green eyes.
penises though.
Possible.
Giants with dick
What?
hate.
Where the fuck did that come from?
I don't know. The bigger you are, the smaller your dick is. Usually, that's kinda how it goes.
I don't think that's accurate at all. But
Probably not.
If that was the case, I wouldn't have any problems. But obviously, for my current marital status, that is not the situation I'm in.
I don't
well,
think
I think there could be other things that indicate that.
it's
I don't think your marital status is dependent on the
bro.
size of your dick.
If that was how it worked, there'd be a lot less people married. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, let's be real here.
You tell me that people marry for like personality and actual feelings? Bullshit. It's all about that money and dick, dude. Come on.
Yeah, let's just go with that.
I mean, yeah, man. Nowadays, honestly, probably true.
Fine God.
We don't have pyramids now. That's why. That's why society is the way
You
that
gotta
it is.
show that bitch your pyramid. Ah!
Yeah.
Do you think someone would marry me if I built a pyramid in my
Maybe
backyard?
that's what it was. Maybe it was a courtship. Like his king was like, "I'm gonna build her the biggest fucking pyramid ever, and then she'll fall in love with me." And then he built it. It's like, yeah, it's nice, I guess, but
No,
King of
he
Bosnia is a
started
lot
building it.
cooler.
He started building it, died. His son died, and his grandson then reaped the benefits. They look at my family's pyramid. It's great.
Yeah, and then that's how Egypt became a country. Historically true.
That's how Atlantis became a country. Not
Yeah,
even.
my bad. My bad.
No, but like, yeah. I mean, look at the like. Just I am. I actually have talked to a guy with a professor of history about the Bosnian pyramids, and he was basically like, I won't say his name because I'm going to say something else about him as well. But I actually have a lot of respect for this man. I like him
I'm
very
gonna
much.
shit talk him in a second.
I'm not. No, I'm not going to. He said no. That's crazy that there would be a Bosnian pyramid. There's not. Like, he's like it's interesting and it's funny, but like it's just not a pyramid. There are no pyramids in Bosnia. And then he said, one time I was watching the stars with my daughter in the backyard, and these black triangles started flying overhead really low, and they didn't make any sound. They were very slow. I don't know what that was, but
Mm.
But
Yeah,
anyway, yeah,
fascinating,
Bosnian
doctor.
pyramid.
Like fascinating, doctor. You saw UFOs in the backyard.
He's my kind of
Yeah,
guy. He's the kind of
but
guy that's not afraid to stand up and speak the truth about the flying pyramids.
yeah.
Yeah,
Here's the
maybe
real
they
question.
do fly. Maybe that's why they built
What
them.
do we think? What do we think happened to the pyramid builders?
I think
That's
they
If
were
that's the
all
they're
real question.
slaves, probably.
if they're if
Okay,
they're not
when I say the
human,
pyramid builders, I mean the civilization, Nick, not the physical slaves who put the blocks there.
Oh, my bad.
well, if it's like every other civilization when it hits its peak, it probably killed itself in some kind of manner, either by running out of food, starting
It could
too
be a
many
lot of things.
wars, disease. I mean, it's hard to say really because that's so far in the past and we haven't found a lot of shit to.
I don't know. People have been in that area in Bosnia for years, right? So, like,
at least at least a couple years.
Yeah, but here's the problem with societies that don't write shit down. They just speak it down through time, and people like to lie, and people like to forget things. So it's like Native American myth where they never wrote anything down, so it's all oral history. So you're going off of a tale 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 of a
yeah,
tale of a tale of a tale of a tale.
we've seen things like that get, like, the
if
stories
people
get
can't play
grander
the
and
phone
grander.
game, if people can't play the phone game correctly, and you're just passing around like a sentence to like six people, there's no way that an oral history is anywhere near as accurate as it would have been 10,000 years ago.
Well, I think you also need to take into account that people who function entirely orally, right? Their languages are much smaller. Like we need a dictionary sometimes. People who have a completely oral language, not written down, every word in their language is in their head because the language only exists in their head.
Yeah.
So it's much easier for them to remember the words necessary. They also
Yeah, I
likely
guess.
have a better memory for things like stories than we do. Because if we need to remember something, we have the luxury of being able to write it down and then read it later. If you don't have that luxury, you're going to have a much better memory for things like that. And you're going to be able to very quickly like pick up on a story then accurately retell it.
See, that would be true 10,000 years ago, but now everybody writes everything down.
Well, yes,
So
now, but we're talking
that's
about them.
right. Yeah, I know. I'm saying like even you have to look at the transformation of technology over 10,000 years. That oral history thing would probably be good until they started learning how to read and write, and then they started writing things down, and then they lost that ability.
Yeah,
And
unless
then
they're
all
written
the
down
people
I
immediately.
mean,
Yeah, well, even then, I mean, people are shitty history keepers nowadays. I'd be hard pressed to have anybody have a book collection or a document survive 5 to 6,000 years if it's not put in a spot and forgotten about or kept under guard to make sure it's not burnt
Yeah,
down or robbed by some marauding band of fucking savages.
I mean,
those
it's
things,
not.
documents don't survive that long. Documents are rewritten or written and like re or they're copied over time.
Dude,
Typically,
Right.
that's how they survive.
it's not out of the question
Right.
that like someone else could have like wiped their history out as well. Like that's happened a couple times
Yeah,
where we've
The fucking Library of
recovered stuff.
Alexandria.
Yeah,
yeah.
The
I'll
greatest the greatest library in human history gets burnt down.
not a huge amount was lost in the burning of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, but it's still the
Most
greatest
of the
library
yeah,
ever
it's
had.
the largest library. Most of the
it's
volumes in it were contained throughout other parts of society
it's
in
the
other
concept that that
libraries.
could happen though. I think is more.
Yeah, but like I mean, for things like the Bosnian Prayer, like there's not even an oral history.
Yeah,
Like I don't even like the people in the town didn't have, as far as I know, didn't have any like legend of like, oh yeah, those are pyramids. Like yeah, there's some weird shaped mountains, man. Like it's so long ago, there's not even an oral history left over.
right.
Now that's probably from you know that like the Balkans have been a turmoil-ridden region throughout history and have had wave after wave of migration, been owned by many different empires, and they probably like there's like the original inhabitants who built the pyramids. Like, there's probably very little even like genetic trace of them remaining. They're just gone.
Yeah,
Now the question is how do they leave? Uh,
on
could be
ships
migrations and
to a
war and
different
stuff.
planet.
Probably not. But I mean, I don't. I don't think so. I believe this, but I know like one theory some people have is it's like an antediluvian civilization. So like before like
Before,
the flood or before a flood.
yeah,
Like I like like even if you're not like a Christian who like believes in the Bible, it's indisputable that there are cultures throughout the globe, many of them, that have the same myth of a flood wiping out the vast majority of people. Oftentimes, they have a guy who builds a boat and he saves a bunch of people on the boat, and civilization rebuilds from boat people or people who crawl the tops of mountains and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's very possible that like
maybe that's why they built the pyramids.
some of the older pyramids perhaps were built before this like flood and that were wiped out, and then the survivors of said flood, like obviously there's pyramids that have been built within like written like history, or not written history, but like known history. Like the South American pyramids are probably much more recent than
Oh,
any other
extremely.
pyramids.
It
But the survivors of these civilizations, this pre-flood civilization, could have like orally passed down like, yeah, we used to build pyramids, like there were these pyramids, and then like the newer pyramids could be like the remnant of that, like people like this like memory of like back when we were great, we built pyramids. Back when we had a real civilization, we built pyramids. Let's build them again and try and get that back.
yeah.
You think the pyramids could have been watertight, where the survivors just like went into the pyramid when the flood happened, and then it was underwater for a couple years, and they came back out?
I don't know. I mean,
I mean,
I don't know if they're orders or not. I know that like with the polygonal walls and stuff, with a lot of these like megalithic structures, like you can't even put like a piece of paper between the.
say some of them are like there's some things that are like semi like airtight that don't. They're like
Yeah, you can't even put a piece of paper into some of like between some of these blocks and stuff. I think it's interesting. I saw like the guy who discovered the pyramids and tunnel and stuff in Bosnia. He was talking about the tunnel. I believe this him. He was talking about the tunnel and said the tunnel is automatically ventilating. So it's got a flat floor, but its roof is curved. It goes up and down and dips, and that creates a
Oh,
series of high pressure, low pressure zones for the air,
yeah.
so that the air is always constantly being pulled through the tunnel
It's a
and
wind
pulled into the
tunnel.
tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it creates a wind tunnel, which means that fresh air from the outside is always being ventilated into the tunnel without fans.
That's so interesting.
Meaning that you can like go under, like you won't have the risk of dead air in these tunnels or anything, or running out of oxygen,
Yeah.
because air from the outside is always being pulled in, naturally. Oof,
Naturally, Charlie.
I'm gonna kill you. That was a rough one right there. I will admit. No, but like this, like these, like that, like things like that. Those like ingenious like way of like creating airflow in a tunnel. Like, yeah, like is it like you could use that for like a fallout shelter, like a shelter for like a disaster or something like that.
Yeah.
As long as the tunnel remains
Yeah.
standing and it's a flood, and a
My idea
variety of
is
other
maybe they
problems can happen.
climbed on top of it and then operated maybe out of the pyramid after the flood subsided. No.
Maybe I don't know. Like that doesn't really make sense to me, just because there's probably like mountains that are nearby that are taller than the pyramids and stuff.
Yeah, true.
Like obviously not in some places. Like obviously like there's no bigger mountains like next to the Pyramid of Giza. But like especially in like South America and stuff like that, there are mountains relatively nearby
Hmm.
that are going to be taller. Or like in like Peru, those pyramids are on
Oh,
mountains.
yeah.
Those pyramids are on top of mountains often. So
Machu Picchu.
yes, the great Machu Picchu temple site
It'd be pretty cool
or
to
town
visit.
site.
Seems
Yeah, it'd be
dope.
interesting. You have to go to Peru. I've heard
Yeah.
Peru's nice, but
Yeah, yeah, I've heard it's nice.
yeah.
I knew someone who was Peruvian. He's visited a couple times. Apparently, it's kind of fucking fun. So.
Interesting. I think I also know a Peruvian actually. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is there anything else really here to touch on with these pyramids? Like, obviously, there's
No,
a ton more
I
to touch
mean,
on.
I think we made it to an hour. Let me check. So
Yeah, I could throw in that there's supposedly pyramids in Antarctica as well.
yeah, we should mention that.
We should definitely mention that. Yeah,
We
there's
have
supposedly
mentioned that
there
in
are
the
Antarctic
first
pyramids.
episode that we ever
Yeah.
did. Very
Antarctica,
briefly.
episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, supposedly there are 3 pyramids in Antarctica, I believe. Set up similar to the Pyramid of Giza.
But
Which could just be another remnant
those
of Aryan
looked,
civilization or Hyperborean civilization or something
yeah,
like that.
those looked less pyramid-like than the ones in Bosnia, but those are
Yeah,
also
definitely.
probably way harder to actually investigate.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
don't. There's never been a dig done on those pyramids.
yeah.
No, the one in Bosnia is just it's insane that you would say it's not a pyramid.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's
It's
a lot
actually
of
insane.
evidence to suggest that at the very least, even if you don't want to call it a fucking pyramid, there's some kind of archaeological significance going on underneath it, you know?
Oh yeah, there's clearly something going on.
So,
There's clearly been manipulated by man for some
but
reason.
I think it's an interesting topic. It's a lot less, if you remove all the aliens and stuff out of it, it's a lot more grounded of a topic than we've talked about so far. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like to me, like I said this before, like to me, I don't really find the like stuff about like Tesla energy, which we didn't touch on,
No,
and that's a very big topic, and we can probably do like a Tesla energy episode at some point.
sure.
But like the pyramids with like Tesla energy, or like the ley lines and pyramids, and like the occult in pyramids or alien in pyramids, be that interesting. I think it's interesting the idea of pyramids being a remnant of a more ancient civilization, or being definitive proof that civilization is much older than we believe currently,
Yeah.
to be like the really interesting part with the pyramids. And like obviously like, jumping putting like the Sphinx into that and stuff as well, which we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think any kind of man-made monument like this is interesting because sometimes you just look at stuff like that and you're like, man, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, what was going through their heads when this was being made? Even just the average person.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I see that. I have that thought all the time. Like I have that thought when I see like the freaking sphere in Vegas. I'm like, what were they thinking?
well, yeah,
What are you doing?
you know, that's one that we made. Man, that's gonna haunt us historically.
Oh yeah, that's spheres.
It's fucking weird.
It's odd.
And they put like the eyeball on it and shit,
I
and
kind of
it's
like when it looks like a big emoji head. I'm not gonna lie, and like the eyes walk around and like goes to sleep. That's pretty like funny, but
yeah,
it's very odd. I really hate gonna hate when they start using the sphere for like advertisements and stuff if they haven't
yeah. They already
already.
have,
Oh
honestly.
yeah, you're gonna
Like,
have like a huge Coke ad on top of it, and it's gonna be like, what are you like? Why do I have to see
cause it's
this?
isn't it a stadium?
It is, yeah. It's a stadium inside.
Yeah, so that's our Coliseum, man. That's what we'll be remembered for.
If only we did things like things that were cool, like deathmatch and
Deathmatch.
chariot races inside of it.
You
So
know,
we just have like
fucking
We're gonna
Billie
sick.
Eilish
build
concerts and
we're
stuff.
gonna build pyramids on the moon.
The OG Olympics went
There might
crazy,
be
dog.
pyramids on the moon and Mars,
That would be interesting.
but the only issue with that
Why don't we just build them
is
ourselves
there
if there
is no
aren't?
moon and there is no Mars.
Oh, yeah, great,
So, but if there were, there's allegedly pyramids and obelisks on Mars.
true.
Very fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you guys on the other side of the firmament. Uh, subscribe.
Yeah, see, I'll see you drowning in the waters on the other side.